We are the diaspora. We are the diaspora. We are the diaspora. We are diaspora. The diaspora. We are the diaspora.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Megan Curet, and I am the creator of DiasPOR US podcast. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how the podcast came into fruition, what our aims, hopes, dreams, and goals are for this project, and ways that you can support as we move along. So DiasPOR US is a podcast that was initially a visual arts project that started in early 2020, and the project followed various Black and Brown artists from and throughout the African diaspora, mostly throughout the Caribbean, African American, and the aim was to sort of highlight the work that these artists were doing. And that was done through intimate in-studio sessions where I photographed and recorded these artists simply in casual conversation about their practice. And I use those recordings and those images to then overlap into short films. And the reason for this was obviously, as the pandemic set toll on us in 2020, what was once supposed to be an in-gallery exhibition had to then move virtually. The project received a lot of love online and was as successful as we needed it to be for the time being. It was really hard to sort of push new work and push new art in a time where people were literally dying all around us. So I tabled it, and obviously life happened, and 4 years later, a lot of other really amazing projects and necessary works came into being. So as we know, we're living through a very extraordinary time. Once again, another unprecedented moment, as if we haven't had enough of those, let alone in the last 5 years. I realized the level of McCarthyism, the level of doxxing, the level of blacklisting, coupled with the level of erasure of our cultures, of our practices, of literally our people at the hands of police alone, without even considering, climate, racism, and segregation, and food racism, and you can literally list the list. So I decided to combat this moment that we are in as someone who works in activism, who is an artist, who is an educator, who is an academic. I'm always working in ways to not stem what it is I do from a place of anger and resentment, but rather from a place of love and resistance and joy. And that's easier said than done. And obviously, we could also go into the depravity that is the wellness culture that has really become this toxic place where social justice almost goes to die before it goes anywhere else. And so I thought, what are some of the ways that I can contribute to just moments of pause, moment of joy, moments of comfort and care where a lot of people don't have that much access to it. And a lot of other things come into play, right? Like when we look at the rate of illiteracy in this country, and we look at who has access to education and who has access to tools to learn, and how we tackle and approach people within our community. I wanted something that could also be accessible, that could just be sort of played and can be put on anywhere during a workout, during a commute to work, during, some babysitting, whatever that may be. And I thought a podcast would be a really rich place for this work to live. So I decided, let's take this theme of celebrating, of highlighting, of love, respect, focus, et cetera, and let's center it around the people that make these things happen in our community day in and day out, both without the recognition, without the resources, without the funds. And voila, the project was born. So it's really a labor of love. It's really a labor of intention, and it's really a labor, of intervention. how can we sort of say no to the doxing, no to the blacklisting, no to the silencing? How do we take back our narratives if so often, more than not, it is non-Black bodies that are dancing our music, teaching our dances, telling our stories, anthropologically investigating our practices? Like, how do we constantly push back when the appropriation is just so overbearing? And that's why I said a lot of this effort is obviously easier said than done. Like, make sure you're resting, and make sure you're taking time for yourself. That's the dream, right? That's the goal. How do we get there? Well, we're never going to answer. We're never going to find a solution or the answer to all of our problems in one go, but we each take a corner of the cloth and we begin to slowly unravel it. We each say no. We each find our way to pause. We each find our way to show love to one another. And those little minute actions are not so minute in the grand scheme of things. And so this podcast is really just a tribute to the community, to our people, saying, hey, these are our stories. We're going to hold space for one another to tell them. And we're going to take back. We're going to take back the erasure. We're going to take back the violence. We're going to take back the silencing, and we are going to be louder than ever, and we are going to tell our stories. So if you like what you hear, if you appreciate the work, this will be available and free of cost to the community, but there's obviously always an opportunity to donate. All of the artists invited onto this podcast do receive a payment and stipend. I don't believe in doing anything for free. I don't believe in asking of free labor from any artist. This is a practice of mine from the early 2012 days when I was 22 years old and I started a dance company, and I was one of the few artists in New York City who had no money, who was still making sure her dancers got paid before her. So, these actions, these statements of reparation, we have to invite them into our vocabulary. So artists are paid for their time. And with that, time is money. So if you like what you hear and you want to support it, if you have a little bit more, disposable income, feel free to drop some, donations. There will be a link available. And as always, share, like, repost, tag, put the link to the podcast. Let people know that you're also engaging with us and that you appreciate the work. This is all community driven, and that's the only way we're going to ever truly be able to combat capitalism and censorship, is by saying, hey, yo, drop that and try this. You know me, I love supporting a small local business, especially when it's female and Black owner led, et cetera, et cetera. So again, those are some of the ways you can support the work without going above and beyond. As I said, time is money, and we are not in the business of making people labor for free, but this is community work, this is community led, this is community driven. So with that being said, enough with the taki, and enjoy our first episode. As always, I send you so much love. I send you so much resilience, solidarity, and may we move through these dark, dark times hand in hand with love in our hearts. It's the only way forward. Thank you.